Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. I'm your host for the evening, Brother Mandene T. Muhammad, sitting in for Brother Jamil Muhammad. We're not live, but I do want to remind you that if you want to subscribe and follow us, you can go to YouTube and follow us on YouTube and subscribe to that. So every time we do go live, you have an opportunity to check us out. Also, when we do go live, we also are on Facebook on the Crow TV. All of those channels are on the Crow TV. And of course, shameless plug, it was Tuesday night, we're elevating the conversation on Elevated Talk on the Talk of Chicago, WVON, 1690 AM. And of course, you can check me out there. But it's always a pleasure to be able to sit in and host these shows because it's a lively art of conversation, but we always like to bring in people with good information to educate our viewing audience of what's going on in the Chicago and the surrounding areas and all over the world for that matter. So, but joining me this evening is a great young man I had a chance to talk to a few moments and heard a lot of great things about him. He is the superintendent of Rich Township District 227. His name is Dr. Johnnie Thomas. I almost said Carson. That would have been a terrible mistake. You old enough to remember Johnnie Carson?
I do remember Johnnie Carson. Yeah.
How you doing?
Good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're looking forward to talking to you. You know, education is really important. It's a big thing there. You know, people always talk about how important education is, and we like to hold their feet to the fire, especially the politicians. So it's good to have someone with your background and your pedigree, and look forward to this conversation, my brother. Yes, sir.
Happy to be here.
Hey, man, like always, for our viewing audience, give us a little background on who Dr. Johnnie Thomas is.
Well, I'm just a humble servant from the west side of Chicago. I grew up on the west side of Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Product of Chicago Public Schools. I graduated from Lane Tech. My journey, just like many of us, wasn't an easy one. Started out working for the Department of Children and Family Services for a little while. From there, transitioned and worked in mental health at Hartgrove Hospital for a number of years. And I just saw a revolving door for our children and took the opportunity to learn from others. Went back to school and got my master's from Loyola University and my doctorate from DePaul University here in Chicago, and went to work serving kids for CPS, where I worked for 6 years. From there, I went out to Valley View, where I was a curriculum coordinator, became executive director of student services. After that, I went over to Arlington Heights and worked for Township High School District 214 in Arlington Heights as an associate superintendent. Learned a lot there in terms of what quality education means and what it can do for all children, and had an opportunity to replicate that work at Community High School District 155, which was in Crystal Lake, all the way north in McHenry County, where I was I've been all over the state. I was actually the only African American employee in Crystal Lake when I was superintendent there, and so it was a great learning experience. And then got the great opportunity to see what we could do to help elevate our community with our children, and so I decided to become superintendent of Rich Township High School District 227, where I've been now for this will be the start of my 6th year, and so it's been an incredible journey for me, but one that has always been focused around trying to elevate our children and give them the best opportunities we can, because they're the future.
Good stuff. Let me ask you this though: how did you come to DCFS? How did that decision come about? I know you said you finished up at Loyola, but what college did you start at?
So it's at Lane, I was blessed enough to run a 4.40 and jump 40 inches in the air, and so I had the great opportunity to play Division I college football at the University of New Mexico for a couple of years, and then I transferred and I finished playing down at SIU down in Carbondale, where I got my bachelor's degree.
Did you play safety?
I was a wide receiver.
Okay, yeah. That was my next choice. Yes, sir. But those safeties are always deceptive. They look slim, but they hit you. You wonder what train went by.
Unfortunately, I was smart enough to avoid the hits, and I tried to get out of bounds whenever I could.
Smart man. So, but what triggered that thought that as far as going into that particular field. Because I mean, those DCFS, the people I've talked to, a lot of times, especially if they have any compassion whatsoever, sometimes they end up taking their work home with them, or some of the children's problems. And I'm assuming you did. In your capacity, did you have to visit some homes?
Oh, I was all over the city of Chicago. Went to several prisons to have children visit their parents. I took children to therapy sessions where they had to see their therapist, and that's where the link came in for me, because these children had a lot of burden on them when I would interact with them, and the only time I see them, I would see them come back to life is when they went to see their therapist and they came out of therapy. It seemed like they had a newfound energy, and so I ended up spending some time talking to the therapist about how did they become a therapist, and that's how I went back. Actually, my degree is in social work, so I have a master's in social work from Loyola, and got a lot of clinical experience there. But I think at the root, for me, I grew up in a home of 9, and I tell people all the time who meet me, when I woke up in the morning to go eat breakfast, there was somebody different sitting at the table that I didn't know who they were, because my parents often took people in and took care of them. And so I come from an environment that has instilled in me that it's our responsibility to take care of each other.
Nice. And so with that passion, so you saw, was it a natural transition to go on to was CPS next, or what?
No, so from there, actually, I went to work at Hartgrove Hospital because I wanted to go and see what I could do for the most profound of our population. And it was interesting. We would work really hard to get students. I worked on the adolescent unit. We worked really hard to get them stabilized and able to receive treatment, and then we would send them home, and then they would come back a few weeks later. And some of the times it was because the treatment care plan wasn't enacted in a way that supported the child. And so seeing that revolving door, I thought it would be best to see what I could do to have further impact, and that's when I went to CPS to work as a school-wide social worker.
Who was the CEO at that time?
Paul Vallis was there. Arnie Duncan was there. It was kind of a transition between the two.
So you spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what are your thoughts about that your tenure there at CPS?
I learned a lot in the city of Chicago. I got to meet a lot of very dedicated teachers, a lot of dedicated related service providers, social workers, psychologists, and parents that were really passionate about education for their children. And the disconnect was such a big system that so often it was focused more on policy and procedure than the actual individual or person. And so sometimes that intimacy was lost in the work, but I enjoyed every second working in Chicago. I learned a lot there.
Yes, sir. Do you feel that by working in Chicago CPS that it gave you the necessary training and foundation to go to those other schools?
It definitely made me resilient.
Yeah.
It definitely made me understand that no matter how dark the situation is, there's always a solution, there's always a possibility, and there's always a way out.
Yes, sir.
So it really helped to fortify the resiliency that I had in me already, especially from the political aspect and working in education.
Outsider would say that, from working at CPS to those other places, probably was a little more easy breezy. What are your thoughts about that?
I think every place has its unique issues. Every community is striving to do what it thinks is the best for their children educationally. I think the experiences are uniquely different. I would put my current task up against any task in terms of people that are passionate about educating their children.
Yeah. Okay, so let's fast forward then. So you know, because you definitely you got the background. You've been around, so. But I guess did they view you? Did you see yourself as a troubleshooter? You know, someone that can go in and fix it because with the background in DCFS and also CPS, and you know, being able to move around. So I mean, did you see yourself? Did they kind of see you? I mean, are these positions that you sought after, or they looked out for you?
I believe that there's always been a calling for me. I've been protected in a way that I can't explain. Growing up on the west side and being out in the desert, New Mexico, by myself, and so I always think that there is a special calling there for me. But in terms of the jobs and them kind of coming, it has always been for me, how can I serve? How can I help? How can I be an addition to and not a takeaway from any environment that I've worked in? And so trying to find a way to take a look at the unique issues that each of the communities that I worked in and do what I can in a team aspect to develop the services and the supports needed to help move the organization forward. So it's always been something. I think part of it is just being an athlete and playing on teams at all different kind of levels and being a teammate and a team player, just trying to figure out what solutions work best for each individual community that I've worked in or organization that I've worked in. And I'm pretty resilient. I try to read up a lot and study a lot. I've not only worked in those organizations, but I've been all over the world studying schools, and so trying to gather information from different places to see what we could do to make the educational environment as positive as we can for our children.
Yes, sir. Excellent. So, so here we are, District 227. So, what all areas does that encompass?
So we service 8 communities in the south suburban area. You know, we have Matson. So we have Matson, Richton Park, Park Forest, Country Club Hills, Chicago Heights, Tinley Park, University Park, and I am missing one.
Is it Olympia Fields?
In Olympia Fields.
Yeah. But Tinley Park, I didn't realize you went west.
Yeah, we have a small piece of Tinley Park.
Yeah.
On the east side of Harlem.
That's a lot of community. That's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
I won't say characters, but personalities that you have to deal with.
Yeah, you know, I think that's one of the things that we have. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
We've tried to do over the last 5 years is to find a way to look at commonalities within all of those communities and try to listen to what it is that they want for their children, and then make that a reality. And so that's something that we've been focused on is building programs that the entire community can rally around and support.
Yes, sir. Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to dive deeper into District 227. So, but let's take a break, get a chance to take a sip of water and gather ourselves and everything. So look, dear viewers, we're going to go ahead and take a break, take a moment, and we'll be back with more conversation on Muhammad and Friends. We'll be right back.
It's against your own health. That how creates more diseases in your body than you have any dreams of. In fact, about it, stop eating the hog, eat right, eat the proper food, and you will find 75% of your sickness leaving you. Yes, just try it.
And we are back to Muhammad and Friends. I'm your host for the evening, Brother Mandene T. Muhammad. Still with us and enjoying the conversation with our dear brother, Dr. Johnnie Thomas, who is the superintendent of Rich Township District 227. So, yes, sir. So here we are. We've been discussing your background.
Mm-hmm.
And so here you are, you ended up in 227. So how did that come about? So how did you, because you way out, like I said, Crystal Lake, Arlington Heights, it's almost like you're going, you cover all sides of the landscape. So you all the way north, now here you go all the way far south.
Yeah, the district itself, they were looking for someone to help provide some stability in terms of leadership. As I mentioned earlier, I did a good job of recreating some systems and supports that allow for us to really accelerate the learning process for those students in Crystal Lake, and decided that maybe it was an opportunity for me in some form or capacity to head either back to Chicago or to the south suburbs to see what I could do to help our children. Mm-hmm. I got the phone call about 227, did some homework. They had a significant amount of turnover in the leadership role over the previous 6 or 7 years, with 4 or 5 different superintendents at some point in time, and really felt for the staff and the children and our future, and wanted to see what I could do to help. And that's all I've ever wanted to do, is to see what I could do to help, and was blessed enough by the Board of Education to receive this great opportunity to work for a tremendous district, a lot of hidden gems there, and we've hit the ground running over the last 6 years.
So how have they received you, the residents out there?
I think in the beginning it was tough because I had to make some really difficult decisions. We had to do one of the most difficult things in education, which was to close one of the high schools because of the population, and so there was some division there where people were very upset about that. But really, I've tried to keep the focus on doing what we could with the resources that were given to us to enhance the educational environment for those students. And so when I first got there, it was somewhat divided, and I think now we have a Board of Education under the leadership of President Andrea Bonds that has really helped to stabilize the governance of the organization, and has allowed for us as administrators to create an environment that I think is going to really enhance the educational outcomes for our children.
Yeah, I know it was pretty rough at one point. I know a few parents decided to remove their children from the district itself because there were concerns about just what you said, the merging of the schools. Mm-hmm. You got the rival schools, and then you do have some of the I guess the influence of gangs out there too, mm-hmm. which would pose a problem as well. So, how were you able to deal with that?
We're still working on it. I think our situation where we are isn't a unique phenomenon in terms of the turn to violence and aggression in our society, mm-hmm. And schools are a microcosm of that. Mm-hmm. And so we've really worked hard to, put some systems in place to look after the social emotional health of our children, provide more opportunities to allow for them to come together and teach them how to work out conflict amongst themselves, mm-hmm. Without turning to alternative forms of resolutions, which right now is violence. In the beginning of this year, coming off the pandemic, it was rough, and it wasn't rough for just Rich 227, but I think for all of us as educators, and we really had to hone in on the social emotional aspect for our children. I think education actually took a back seat for a while so that we could get our students used to being back around each other and spending time with each other as opposed to texting and online interactions.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely want to ask because like everyone, and we're still dealing with it, the pandemic, the coronavirus. So how was that transition as far as, not being in school, as far as issuing out laptops and things of that sort? I mean, making sure that the children have ability to, to still do their work. And, and then I think the other issue is a lot of times you may have a young person who may work better with that one-on-one, It's just a lot of dynamics that you have to work out with. So how did you manage to navigate through all of that?
Yeah, I think we were on a path for innovation in our district. We had, before the pandemic hit, we had partnered with T-Mobile on a million device project where they were providing mobile hotspots for all of our students. And so we had already had plans in place to provide both the technology and the internet capabilities to our families. And so those things were already working for us before the pandemic hit. And then of course it hit and it changed the way we viewed how we could educate students. And so from that standpoint, we were one of a few districts that were actually kind of hybrid. We were always kind of in person, and we had some students that were remote. And so from that standpoint, the transition was a little bit easier than I think some of my colleagues had that were fully remote the entire time. We've moved through. We were allowed to come back last year, and in the beginning of last year, as I mentioned, we saw the difficulties that the students had in relating to each other, and a lot of people speculated that it was because we had combined the schools, but it was really because of the lack of social interaction that the students had. And so as we moved through last year, putting supports in place, putting systems that allow for more therapy for students in place, bringing in some outside supports to work with our families, we saw some significant decreases in those incidences in school in terms of fighting and things of that nature. And by the time we ended the year, it was really low. But in the beginning, it was a difficult transition in getting people to getting used to being back around each other.
You touched on the having the outlets for the young people to discuss, I guess their feelings. But I'm a big proponent of mental health, and especially among young black men. And so I know you kind of touched on it. So what exactly do you have in place, as far as, therapists, because when I was in high school, of course we had counselors, but they were counselors to make sure, you just stay out of trouble and you picking the right classes. It wasn't dealing with the mental aspect, how's it going, how's your day going, how's everything in school, is there anything going on with you that you would like to talk about? From, not when I was in school. So I mean, this is definitely different times, and we talked about COVID and how the young people are dealing with that, and you got a lot of young people that were going into high school for the first time, or maybe just going to the sophomore year, and so they were still getting acclimated, to being around other people, and you got some children that wasn't around other people at all, because you got the whole district, so you got some young people that their social skills is nothing beyond their brothers and sisters and mother and father. So, so I say all that to say, so what do you have set up as far as, even with the young people, for them to talk to someone in the schools? Yeah,
it's really amazing the amount of supports that our teams have put together over the last couple of years. We not only have a full range of clinicians, meaning social workers. We have multiple social workers in each building. We have multiple psychologists in each building. But we also have worked hard to bring in outside agencies that provide in-house therapy for our students as well. So we have clinics that are inside of our schools that will support not only our children but our families. And then we partnered with several mentoring groups that come in and they actually provide direct mentoring to our boys and our girls in terms of helping to build their social skills and their self-confidence and things of that nature. And so we've had a number of those things put in place. We also screen every child using a social emotional screener, getting a sense of where they are health-wise. And those screeners have allowed for us to identify students that normally you wouldn't know that they had something going on with them. And we're able to wrap supports and services around them. And then this fall, in connection with our new field house that we built this year, we also have a food pantry and a laundry services that will be there for our homeless families. And so really taking a look at how we can provide a comprehensive approach to supporting the whole child regardless of what their situation is.
Yeah, give you a chance to take care. So I want to remind our viewing audience that we're talking to our dear brother, Dr. Johnnie Thomas, who is the superintendent of Rich Township District 227, doing a wonderful job here on the show this afternoon. Really appreciate your time, my brother. One other question. I know 60 Minutes had did a segment called The Great Resignation. So there's a lot of professionals who are changing, you know, they're making career changes. I just read about a young fellow the other day decided to quit his teaching job and go work at Walmart. He was making more money at Walmart being a manager there. So how's staffing, you know, in your district? You know, are you having issues with that, or?
So, you know, we you know, when I first got to Rich Township, it was a very difficult place to recruit people to come to work. We built a team over the last 5 years. I had a principal leave and was promoted to a director. I had an assistant superintendent that left and was promoted to a superintendent. I had another assistant superintendent that left this year, and he was promoted to a deputy superintendent in a large district. And so we've seen a transformation where we've been able to develop talent, and people are now coming to get that talent. But on the back end, in terms of finding quality educators to put in front of our students, I think we are in a really, really good situation where we're probably about maybe 3 or 4 teachers short, and you know, working hard to fill those positions. So we're not in a similar situation that some of my colleagues are in, but a lot of it has been some of the partnerships that we've made with Loyola University, Chicago State, Governor State, Prairie State, to really see what we can do to create a pipeline that will continue to have quality candidates want to come work for us.
What about black male teachers?
That is the difficult piece. I think African American educators in general. We do see more female than males. It is something that we're working hard through our teacher pipeline partnership with Loyola, but it really has to start at a lot of levels with how we are taking care of our educators. We all say that we value education, but over the last couple of decades, we've done everything to erode the support that they have traditionally had or looked forward to later in life. And so you have a situation now where educators coming into the field, they can't retire until age 67, where before it was 55. And so young, talented individuals are looking at those kind of life choices, and they're making choices to go into other industries. And I think at some point we have to rally a call that will allow for us to really look at how we're compensating our educators and what kind of supports that we can put in place for them, you know, towards the end of their careers that make them want to take that sacrifice in terms of salary and support that they have over the decades taken in the beginning of their careers.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about some of the highlights in the district now, because I know I think I read something. Of course, you're moving more into the STEM. I think at some of the schools, I think it's a culinary, programs there. I think you mentioned also about, was it a new stadium, some type of
Yeah,
building?
yeah. We have really looked at. We've taken a philosophy of usually for African American students, they're educated in environments that teach them how to be managed, how to occupy their time, how to tell them where to be, when they need to be there. And so we're looking at creating environments that are very similar to the environments that I left, where those students were usually taught on how to lead and how to innovate and how to create industry and not necessarily how to work in the industry. And so we have taken the stance over the last few years. We've created pathways for our students. So in the first 2 years in our districts, our students choose, they go into a 9th and 10th grade pathway that teaches them about the industries that are out there, what are their interests, what do they want to do as they begin to reach adulthood. And then their junior year, they actually choose a pathway or like a major. Those pathways then are divided amongst the 2 campuses. One of our campuses is focused on the fine arts, communication, international baccalaureate programs. The other campus is focused on STEM education.
Okay.
Students have the ability to attend either campus based on what their interests are. From there, we then have capstone opportunities that allow for them to get work certificates, on-the-job training, internships, things of that nature that will allow for them to experience what it is that they want to do before they have to make the multi-$1,000 decisions on their educational path. And so we have, last year we finished a culinary arts kitchen, a full commercial kitchen for our students to go into and learn what the industry standards are for working in a commercial kitchen. So if they decide they want to go into industry, they can, or if they want to continue to go to culinary arts school, they can do that as well. We also finished last year I think one of the only in the South suburban area, a manufacturing production line that is working in one of our high schools where our students actually can produce products, work with our business classes to get those products packaged and then shipped out to people who want to purchase those things, and then teaching our students in the business classes how to go out and sell those products and how to go out and work. So really making a shift to not only showing them the skills that they need to be leaders in industry, but how also they can create their own niche through entrepreneurship and things of that nature. We have a business incubator program that we're very proud of, where students actually practice creating, running, and managing their own business. So we're really, really proud of that. And then this year, we will add an audiovisual radio TV broadcasting program for our students, along with revamping all of our science labs so that our students are working in 21st century science labs, learning what the industry standards are, so that if they decide they want to go and continue their education at a very high level, they've worked on the equipment and the tools to do that.
Let me ask you this, any plans, or is it something already in place as far as like carpentry or automotive repair?
So
back to that old school.
Yeah, so we already offer automotives. I think in the next phase of our projects is working to establish a partnership with an industry partner that will allow for us to do electric engines. We also are bringing in next year avionics, so students will work on airplanes and not just become pilots, but the individuals who fix planes, the individuals who understand climate change and things of that nature. We already have been working in partnership with Pepper Construction on a construction program. We have over $105 million worth of projects that are happening within the district, and our students have been able to support and be in some of those projects as they're being built professionally, and so using this opportunity as a teaching opportunity as well.
Well stated. You've definitely represented well, my brother. So this has been great. I want to wear you out the first time, man, but this has been great, and I think this is a great way to introduce you to our particular viewing audience, and I've really enjoyed the conversation. You got a lot going on out there in the District 227, man. So I really appreciate your time. Is there any closing comments?
I just for me, for the viewers out there watching, I just want to remind people that we have a responsibility to take care of each other. I think a lot of times we've been so caught up in looking out for just our own intimate circle, and I think it's time that we start paying attention to each other and seeing what we can do to help someone else in these very difficult times.
Excellent, excellent. Well, look, thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you.
And we look forward to having you back real soon.
Appreciate it.
Look,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters in the viewing audience, I want to thank you for hanging with us for this length of time. We're going to take a break and bring another interesting guest, so don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. And we are back to Muhammad and Friends. I'm your host for the evening, Brother Mandene T. Muhammad. I want to thank our dear brother Superintendent of District 227 for being my previous guest, the good doctor. And I want to continue our show with another interesting and very thought-provoking guest, our dear brother Dawud Talib Muhammad, who is he ain't no small business owner. This man owns a car dealership. So my brother is, but he's more than just a business owner. He's an inspiration. He has a testimony. And we're finishing up a show. We talked to him on a previous show, but we just want to kind of just keep this conversation going and kind of talk about inspiration, motivation, what keeps them going and everything. But nonetheless, welcome to Muhammad and Friends, Brother Dawud. Thank you for joining me.
Praise be to Allah. Thanks for having me, beloved.
Brother, it's an honor, my brother. It's an honor. And let me say, man, we don't have a lot of time, but I know we've had you on previous shows. I know you gave us some background on yourself, and you were definitely a businessman. How long you been, an owner now?
So I started ownership in May of 2017. 25% owner for about close to 4 years, and then I sold my stock back in that dealership, and my wife and I bought Nissan of Hendersonville 100%.
Nice, 100%. So that means you signed the checks on the front.
Absolutely.
All praise is due to Allah.
And then I write the checks to myself and sign them in the back.
Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. That's right, brother. You can do that when you're the boss, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, but look, let's talk about, because you had mentors. Of course, your father was first and foremost, but there were people that gave you opportunities. Do you see the next, Dawud in your establishment, or do you see others out there that you are grooming, or do even those that may not be into a car salesman, for lack of a better term, but just in business or just that next generation of leadership, do you see replacements out there?
Absolutely. I think it's a lot of young people that's stronger, smarter, and better. Just need that environment and that environment and that opportunity, which is one of our ultimate goal. Like since I was young, was the school of entrepreneurship to be able to take an 18-year-old as a college alternative and put him or her through a program that teaches them how to sell and teaches them financial literacy, and they can come out of 4 years, 22 years old, way ahead of the program, a lot farther than they could going into like an institution and getting a college degree just for the sake of getting it, but not really having a lot of direction and knowing what they're really going for, being, more intentional than just saying, hey, I'm the first person to go to college in my family, I'm going to college. So just like an alternative, like a competitor, really more kind of like a competitor too. Because the college, it's a business. A lot of students go in there and rack up a lot of debt and leave not accomplishing much, not a lot of intention when we first go in sometimes. So I just want an alternative. Like, it's not for everyone, but I think entrepreneurship is our right. So I think that's for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. And you explained that before about you went biblical on us, for lack of a better term, explaining how our Savior, Master Farad Muhammad, went door to door, and that's our teaching. I'm a small business owner. I have a men's resale boutique here in Chicago, Legacy Men's Boutique, and sometimes I have a storefront. So you think most people just assume you have a storefront, people just gonna flock to you. They see you right there. That's not true at all. Sometimes if it's slow, I sit in there and I just people watch. And people, when you walk and you on a mission, you walk right on past. You just keep going. And so I go back to my roots. It's an area in Chicago called Maxwell Street. That's the political correct term for it. And I would go down there, and as I'm walking down the street, you hear tapping on the window or somebody waving you on in. So it's like, and plus, coupled with that is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and through our Savior, Master Farad Muhammad, talking about going door to door and going out there engaging with the people. That's what I do. I don't just sit up in there and just assume that just because I'm there, they're going to come to me. I get out there and I engage with them. I get out there and I talk to them, even if they don't come in that day. And even if they do, I just say, hey, thank you for the opportunity. Even when they come in the store and they're looking for something and they can't find it, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for giving me a chance, So, and like you said, if I'm quoting you right, a lot of times you're not so much just selling a car, you're selling yourself as a personality. And so that's what I try to do, is make sure that, I'm as hospitable and, welcoming as possible. So even if they don't come back, maybe they'll recommend me to somebody else. So I try to make sure that I'm as brotherly and inviting as possible when they do come in. So, but what are your thoughts about that?
I would say sales is a contact sport. So if you think about our Savior, he made contact.
Yes.
He got off his throne, he came, and he made contact with us. So when you look at it from that perspective, just going a little further, let's say a customer comes in the door and you make contact with them, but they don't transact that particular day. But have you made them a contact? Have you got data? So the contact in sales is twofold. You got to make contact with a person to sell, but you also have to gather contact information to be able to follow up and continue to sell. So typically any person that comes into your storefront, they're a contact.
Yes, sir.
So when they leave, you got their first name, last name, cell phone number, email address, some type of social media handle. And now you collect that data, a database of contacts. And now you can constantly be communicating to those people, because typically, from an advertising marketing standpoint, which to me is like synonymous with sales, is that sometimes it takes a person 6 to 8 times. I think I heard that on your commercial too.
Yes, sir.
It takes a person 6 to 8 times before they make a decision. So if they walk into your shop and you make one contact, okay, if they don't transact, that's one. where's the next 5 to 6 to 7 contacts?
Teach.
That's going to come from you getting their contact information and then continue to communicate your value message 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and you'll see how incrementally your sales will increase because sales is a contact sport.
Teach.
So I would recommend when you give out your business card, you get information also.
Yes, sir.
Because if you just give out your card, you may end up on the side of waiting. If you contact their information, now you get that contact info. Now you are in control, and you can continue the conversation and continue to make deposits into building a relationship. Eventually, that's going to convert into a sale in some fashion, whether they purchase from you or you sold them on you, so they refer to you.
Yeah, you know that's a beautiful. You're absolutely correct. I bear you witness. I recall when I was younger, I worked in a boutique owned by a sister that was a friend of the family, and she sold men's and women's clothes. And what the manager would have me do was call people, their contact information, call people like Tuesday, maybe like Wednesday or Thursday, in preparation for them to come in Friday and Saturday. Particularly Saturday because most people are off during that time. And as you were talking, I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? Like they used to say in the church, I need to get back to that old time religion, and like you said, make some contact and stop sitting on my hands, and just assuming that just because I'm there, they're gonna come on in. I got to encourage them to come on in. So you're absolutely correct, my brother. So with that being said, do you So I'm assuming that you teach your salesmen that at your dealership as well.
We teach them the prospect. Try to build your own brand. Build your own brand. Do video testimonials. Get customer testimonials. Post on Facebook. Post on Instagram. A lot of our salespeople do that. They try to build their own brand, independent of just waiting on the dealership to create opportunity for them.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's easier now as a salesperson as opposed to when you started off? Not as if you're an old veteran. You're a veteran in the work, but you're still a young man. But you didn't have all that social media back then. You just had to sell yourself. But now it's like the newer generation, they got a heck of an advantage, man. They got all type of social media outlets, and they can just go live on their phone and promote themselves like you just said. So do you think it's easier now as opposed to back then? Or what do you think? And also, what do you think the pros and cons are to this type of access?
I think it's more competitive because, everyone has a platform now because they got that phone. But if you was creative back in the days and you were really good at being creative, then you got an advantage. It's a pro for you because now you can take that creativity and spread it to more people via social media. Mm-hmm. So I think it's easier today for me than it was back then. If I'm willing to, engage like how you and I are engaging right now. Like if I'm willing to talk more and get out there more, I can sell a lot more cars. It's just overcoming, the shyness or overcoming, the introverted aspect of my personality. When I was selling cars, I was forced to do it. Yeah. Now there's people who sell cars on my behalf. When I sell a car, it's just bonus. Like if somebody called me up, Brother Dawud, I'm looking for a car, like that's a bonus for me. If no one calls me and say, Brother Dawud, I'm looking for a car, that business is still flowing. Yes, because I got a lot of people that sell cars, on my behalf. So it's a little easier for me, but overall, I think for a young man or young woman right now wanting to get into sales, man, they got a nice platform with social media. It's a definitely an advantage. Because everybody got the platform doesn't mean that, people are going to be able to perform on the platform. So, even though it's more competitive, I still think it's an even playing field if you have the personality and you can transfer that enthusiasm and convert it into a sale. Social media, it just amplifies how many people see what you're offering.
Yes, sir. Do you do any talks, TED Talks or talk to high schools, any ceremonies like that? Are you sought after?
I mean, I do, I do the Brother Monir show. You know what I'm saying? Brother Monir Muhammad show. I do stuff like
Yes,
I do
sir.
stuff like that.
In that
I
order.
did the Blackstone Academy graduation commencement. That was super humbling. That's one of our schools in Atlanta. Um, I talk to my staff. I'm always having to inspire my staff, my managers, and things of that nature. But for the most part, I shy away.
Really?
If I'm not like requested, I'm not really too much, raising my hand like, hey, put me on. So if it's a request, then I'm always willing to do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But
Yeah.
I don't pursue it.
Yeah. Hey, well, I know you're a humble brother, but I mean, you've been doing this work for a long time now. I mean, and I can hear you got a little frustrated minister inside of you. So I'm pretty sure the opportunity presents itself more times than a few for you to get up there and give a talk. I'm pretty sure at the mosque, I'm pretty sure you called up to bear witness from time to time.
I'll be ducking and dodging. I tell my student minister, I'm good. Keep me in the back.
But they know they can pull you off the bench if need be.
I think so, possibly.
Yes, sir.
Let my wife tell it.
Yes, they always know, don't they? But, hey, brother, look, we got about 4 minutes left. And then, like I said, this was an abbreviated moment, but I just wanted to continue the conversation with you, man, because since that first time we met, I saw you. Sister Sajda had interviewed you, and then I believe we met face to face. Sister Carmela, what can I say about Sister Carmela? She's a gem of a person. She gave me an opportunity to set up shop in Foodies during the Founders Day event, and I had an opportunity to actually sell you something. Didn't know I was going to sell you something. Didn't know who you were at the time, but you got a few pair of socks from me though. But when you told me you
I
had a
was
car
sold on
dealership,
you.
I saw it.
That's because I was sold on you from Sister Sajda's show.
Oh man, all praise is due to
When I
Allah,
watched
man.
that show, when I seen you, I was like, "Oh, this is a wrap. We about to do business."
Yes, sir.
You didn't even know
Yes,
I was
sir.
I was already sold before I even seen you.
Oh,
See, that's
praise
that
due to
power
Allah.
of social media.
Yes,
When I
sir.
seen what you was doing, and I pulled up and I seen you, I was already a done deal. I already knew I was going to transact. I had to get to that food first. That line be long.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But
But and I ended up selling Sister Carmela a card based off of when I seen her at Foodie Spot too. I gave her my card. We connected. I ended up selling her a car for her daughter.
oh, praise is due to Allah. Yes, man. That's beautiful. So so that means that you will get a car to a person even if they're not in the same city as you.
Delivered to your door.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're not limiting yourself, man. That's man. Look, brother, I can't say it enough. I'm proud of you, man. You're definitely making waves, man. What do you see in the future? Do you see an additional dealership? Do you see yourself just expanding? So what do you see with Brother Dawud business-wise?
I mean, inshallah, big fields await the wide awoke man. So inshallah, we trying to get to 100.
Come on now.
So in the near future, I mean, we're trying to see if we can get up to 2 or 3 or 4 in the near future and build that platform and just keep growing from there by Allah's permission.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's wonderful, man. That's wonderful, man.
So we're gonna keep pushing. We're gonna keep pushing, brother.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, man, this is what we do, man. The gold is in the fish's mouth. The fish is out there, whether they want to drive or get the paper, or you may have a skull cap or two for them also if they push you, huh?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Hey, brother, go ahead, give us a closing statement. Whatever thoughts that's on your heart and mind right now, man. I just appreciate the opportunity to even talk to you.
So I think I will leave us with, study the teachings of the Most Humble Elijah Muhammad, and I think we should really understand that everything that we need to be successful is in a book that the Most Humble Elijah Muhammad wrote, in a lecture that he spoke on, whether it was him directly or him through his minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I mean, everything that we have to offer in the Nation of Islam, I think will solve every one of our problems from every aspect, whether it's business, which is defined as the activity of life.
Yes.
The way our example, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, engages in the activity of life is the example of how to do business. So I just say, all of the answers we have, we just got to dig into our teachings and follow our example, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we will be successful because His way wins.
All praise.
So that's what I would say as my closing statement.
Beautiful, beautiful. I reflect very quickly on Brother Mandene used to always tell me and any other person that would listen that, as you said, the answer to all your problems is in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And Brother Minister Farrakhan, when Brother Mandene asked him, how would you best describe the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? It's life. With that being said, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you all for watching us this evening. May Allah continue to bless you with the light of understanding as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.